Hearing is our ability to detect sound waves and to absorb that sound wave energy and to turn it into an action potential. So these receptors that are able to absorb sound waves are examples of mechanoreceptors. So these mechanoreceptors absorb the energy of the sound waves. So when we look at the actual mechanoreceptors, which are located in your inner ear, they are sometimes referred to as hair cells. So this is a hair cell. This hair cell has cilia on its surface, and the sound waves actually come in like this, and they bend the cilia. And the bending of the cilia is what is going to produce an action potential. Okay, so we can talk about these sound waves. We can talk about what gives them different frequencies, like a high pitch versus a low pitch. And we can talk about how loud they are or their amplitude. And so when we look at frequency of sound waves, this is the number of waves in a given unit of time. So like if I have my time on this axis, my sound wave might have a high frequency, lots of sound waves. So this would be high frequency. This would be a high pitch, a high note, okay? When we look at the same graph here, and let's say we have only a few sound waves, this would be a low frequency or a decrease in pitch. Pretty amazing that we can tell the difference between those two sound waves. The other thing has to do with the amplitude. So this is how loud. So this would be loudness. So it is measured in decibels. But if we are talking about a high frequency that has a very loud high frequency, it would look like this. So my amplitude is my space between the distance between the top of the sound wave and the bottom of the sound wave. That's my amplitude. So this would be a loud sound. And then if I were to look at this one, this would be, right, this would have a low. So this would be not loud. This would be a soft or quiet sound. So that has to do with the amplitude. And so it's kind of amazing that we have these hair cells. Some of the hair cells vibrate at a higher frequency. They pick up that energy. Some of them would, if they're being more forcefully pressed down, for example, then they generate more action potentials, and the sound feels to us like we sense it as being louder. So we can talk about what is picking up these sound waves. So we can talk about the structure of the ear. When we talk about the structure of the ear, we have the outer ear. This functions to collect sound waves. We have the middle ear. This functions to amplify, make the sound waves louder, amplify the sound waves. And then we have the inner ear, specifically the cochlea. And this has the hair cells. Okay, so let's look at the different parts of your ear. This would be considered the outer ear right here. You could capture more sound waves by making your ear bigger, right? So you can hear better. And that is just what that is capturing those sound waves so that you can hear more of them. And then we have them transmitted into what is called the auditory canal. So the ear, those sound waves are transmitted there. Now we have at the end of our auditory canal, between the outer ear and the middle ear, we have the tympanic membrane. So the tympanic membrane is your eardrum. So let's put that right here. So this would be the tympanic membrane. So we'll put outer ear, collects sound waves and transmits to the tympanic membrane. This membrane will vibrate, right? And it will start to move these bones, these ossicles that are in the middle ear. So this membrane starts to vibrate and then it starts to move. This is sometimes referred to as the hammer, the malleus. This is my incus, and this is my stapes. These are the middle ear bones. They actually have synovial fluid joints between them, and they are going to make the sound amplified because we're taking the sound waves from an air-like medium, and we're going to try to get them to go into the inner ear, and the inner ear is fluid filled. So we need to make them amplified. So the middle ear has the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. Your inner ear, these bones press against what is referred to as the oval window. So the sound waves enter the oval window, and exit the round window. And those are actually oval and round window. Okay. The other thing that's important to emphasize here for medical reasons, I guess, is that this middle ear is connected to the back of the throat via the eustachian tube. And the reason for this is that we need to equilibrate the pressure in our middle ear. When your ears pop, that is the air in your middle ear becoming equilibrated. So if I travel up to the top of a mountain, the air in my middle ear is going to expand and it's going to put pressure on my eardrum. So I need to get rid of that extra air by having it come out my eustachian tube and into my throat. Sometimes when we get upper respiratory infections, that eustachian tube, specifically in children, it gets clogged and you get infection in that middle ear. And that can actually cause pressure on the eardrum enough so that the eardrum can burst. So in order to prevent that bursting of the eardrum, doctors sometimes put tubes in the ear to drain them automatically so that the eardrum pressure does not exceed what it is in order to cause the eardrum to actually rupture on its own. So let's look at that connection. So this is, in your textbook calls it the auditory tube. So auditory tube and the eustachian tube are the same thing. So this is to the back of your throat. This tube connects to this middle ear, which should be just filled with air, but with an infection, sometimes it gets filled with fluid. And that makes it hard for us to hear when we have a middle ear infection. So this is the oval window right here. This is the round window. So the sound waves are going to come in and they're going to travel via the cochlea all the way from the base to the apex. But then because it's fluid filled, we actually have to get rid of that energy. So the sound waves will travel back out and then come back out the round window. So the oval window is connected to this stapes, and then the round window is just underneath it. And so that is what allows the sound waves to come in and the sound waves to exit. So we'll next talk about what the structure of the cochlea is, but then also the vestibular apparatus, which is also in our inner ear, which gives us equilibrium and balance.